Hey guys, so I want to talk to you about Brotherhood, a phrase that we used to put up in my old gym, the old academy at the house and stuff, where we used to have guys come over. Is right above the door, we had a sign that said, "Brotherhood is born in shared adversity," and it really is. Regardless of the perspective that you're looking at, whether or not you're looking at this from religious perspective or business perspective or training perspective or whatever, brotherhood is born in the adversity that you share with another individual. One of the things that we used to see kind of back in the day, back when I first started, Tap Out was kind of a big brand and was coming out, and we would see people walking around with these shirts on and stuff, and you could always pick them out and stuff. The guys who didn't train, they would just go out and they would buy the latest gear. They would just want to advertise that they were doing some sort of training or something like that. So they would buy Tap Out this and Tap Out that, and had the flip flops and the t-shirts and the hats and stuff like that. But you kind of look on those people, and then it's just kind of an inherent thing. You immediately dismiss them, because the reality is that's an individual who went out and bought the gear without putting in the time. By the same token, I just took a couple of students to a tournament here just this past weekend, and there's something that occurs at a tournament that is really just quite the opposite of that. As you're sitting there fighting this individual at another school and stuff, there's nervousness, there's fear, there's all kinds of anxiety, and you want to do well, and so on and so forth. There's excitement, there's all that. But when the tournament is over, when the match is over and you guys walk off, there is just an inherent sense of brotherhood there. I have never been closer at such brief interactions with individuals than when I go to a tournament, when I competed against someone and we walked off the mat. I still remember guys that I fought from back in my white belt, blue belt days and stuff like that. I still remember those guys fondly and stuff, and there's a certain bond there because there was something that we shared. We put in, even if it was only a 5-minute match, there was a brief interaction of adversity where we were fighting against one another, and there is just a mutual respect that is built up in that environment because we both endured. Regardless of who won or lost, it didn't make any difference. There is just an inherent brotherhood that is built in that kind of adversity. By the same token, I see this kind of in the Christian faith as well, where people want to come in, they go to church, but they really don't invest anything of themselves into the church, into the body. They bought the t-shirt, but they're really not invested into the body of Christ as a whole. And you kind of get a little bit dismissive in much of those cases. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, I'm just saying that it is what it is. But by the same token, those brothers that are close to you, that you have accountability with, there is a closeness that is inherently built in there because these are individuals who are invested in you and you are invested in them, and you are bearing one another's burdens, as Galatians 6:2 talks about. You are in the trenches together doing hard things, dealing with spiritual battles and difficulties of being a Christian, dealing with persecution and being ostracized, dealing with all these different things that you're facing, but you're doing it together. And inherently, even if you guys don't share anything else with one another other than the fact that you share a faith, there is an inherent brotherhood that is built in there that you can't get anywhere else. The reality is I've been overseas with guys, and I have close relationships built with guys that I maybe only knew for a week or two, just by virtue of being on a job. But because of what we went through together, there is an inherent closeness that I'm still in contact with many of these guys today and still close with them. When we share that adversity together, it builds an inherent brotherhood. But that shared adversity requires an investment. I can't sit there and have a guy go overseas and me just somehow latch onto that connection without having invested time in that particular mission or in that particular operation or whatever it was. I can't just by proxy attach myself to that individual. In Portuguese, it's just called pela saco. It's a suck up. It's basically someone who is just kind of a leech. They're drawing from the resources, but they're not invested into the group. And we see this in the Christian faith. We see it in all things. You see it in jiu-jitsu. Guys who come in to train and they're there a couple of times or whatever, but they're not really invested. They don't like the adversity, to be quite honest with you. When the adversity comes, they run the other way. They're looking for the easy fights on the mat. They're looking for the easy way out. They're looking for the tap out t-shirt without actually having invested the time in the training. And the problem is that those guys will never integrate into the brotherhood. If you're not invested in a group, you won't get anything out of it. You're really just kind of a leech drawing resources from that group, but never giving anything back in return. You cannot share the brotherhood without sharing the adversity. So I wanted to kind of touch on this a little bit because in particular in the Christian faith, we have this idea that our sins are our own, that they're just mine and they're none of your business and so on and so forth. But that is not a scriptural principle whatsoever. The Proverbs talk about how, better is the rebukes of a brother than the kisses of an enemy and stuff like that. It's this idea that if you and I are on this Christian walk together, and you know that my heart's desire is to finish this and to go the distance and stuff, and you see me stumble and fall, you're like, hey dude, you're messing up. Come on, let's go. No different than if you and I were workout partners at the gym and you and I both have goals to whatever, bodybuild or powerlift or whatever. We have these goals together and we're doing them together and we go into the gym together. And then I just decide, hey, go ahead, dude, I'm going to hang out in the parking lot, or I'm going to hang out over here at the freaking, shake bar or whatever and talk to this girl. I don't have anything invested. For you to sit there and just be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, we're still going to be tight. We're still going to be workout partners. We're still going to be brothers and stuff. Even though you're over there sitting at the shake bar talking to people, but I'm over here in the gym putting in the work. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. If you want the brotherhood, you have to put in the time. Which means that when I see you stumble, I come to you, I pick you up. I'm like, hey man, come on, let's get after it, let's go. I'm motivating you because I know in your heart, your heart's desire is to continue that walk with Christ, to not give up, to not become hardened by sin in your heart, to not falter and fall away and stuff like that. I know that's your heart's desire. So I'm going to do everything I can to not let you do it, but I'm also dependent on you to do the same for me. That is the Christian concept. In Galatians 6:1, it talks about how if we see a brother stumble, that you who are spiritual, you who are still being faithful in your walk, you're to go to them, you're to rebuke them in gentleness and kindness and stuff, but you are to rebuke them. And it says in verse 2 that this is how we bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. There's an entire sect of Christianity today that is basically, it's between me and God and stuff like that. And that is not a biblical concept whatsoever. The Bible refers to the church as a body. It refers to You is the hand, and me is the arm, and this guy is the eye, and this guy is the ear. But together we make up this body, and we share those adversities together. When that hand gets hurt, you know, it affects the entire body. When that hand gets infected with cancer or leprosy or something like that, it infects the rest of the body. It changes things. The body has to respond to that diminished capacity now. So I wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of perspective, because again, it doesn't matter whether you're looking at this from just purely a BJJ perspective or a combatives training, or whether you're looking at this from a spiritual perspective or a workout. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that you are going to get out of something what you put into it. And if you want brotherhood in a group, it requires your investment. It requires your attendance. It requires your attentiveness. It requires you to put your heart into someone else. That's what the biblical concept of love is. Seeking someone's highest good. Not seeking their happiness. Not seeking their immediate happiness anyway. It's seeking someone's highest good, which means that you're feeling lazy. You really don't want me motivating you going to the gym. You're like, dude, I'm just not having it today. And I'm just like, look, man, you're going to regret this tomorrow. You're going to be like, man, I fell off the wagon. You know, I screwed up my diet. I didn't go to the gym, whatever. You know, you're going to be feeling it tomorrow. You're not today. You'll probably be pissed off at me today that I'm motivating you today. Man, get in there. Stop being lazy. Don't be a bitch. Get in there. But you'll be upset with me today, but tomorrow you'll thank me for it. And by the same token, I will with you as well, because we're brothers. We're on this journey together. I need you to keep me going, just like you need me to keep you going. And in that adversity together, we build one another up. That's how the Christian walk works. That's how brotherhood works. Brotherhood is born in shared adversity.